Hey everybody. Thanks for joining. I'm here in the classroom. I'm sitting down. I want by Aaron. Say hello, Aaron. He's over there someplace.
Adam.
A- I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. Thank you for correcting me. Appreciate that. I try to get people's names right, but it takes me a while sometimes. Um, Wanted to, I figured we'd sit down. We've got this big classroom, but there's no one here in the classroom. Even if there was, we'd barely fill it. So I rearranged things. I had some time before class. Apparently, no one came to office hours. Nothing wrong with that. And so I thought we'd go like, seminar style, like we're at a small liberal arts college or something like that. So, your tuition at work here at Portland State University. Um, Let me get the right thing up here. So we're gonna kick off class. We're gonna see how it goes. Maybe my feet won't get so tired as usual from standing and stuff. So tonight we're gonna focus on the Java programming language, and we're going to learn about the Java programming language by doing a series of, well, by beginning a series of activities called koans, which are small little coding problems that we'll solve together. We'll do, we'll spend the time here in class getting started with them. That'll hopefully give you the feel for what they're all about. And then, the rest of them you'll be doing on your own. That is sort of the first assignment in the course. But first, I'd like to start off with something that I call Prime Minister's questions. This is this is your opportunity to, I don't know, ask me things that are on your mind. If there was anything that you'd like to follow up on, anything we covered on Monday that you'd like to discuss, or if there's anything just in general you'd like to talk about, let me know about. If it's a good time to give me feedback or a good time to make requests of me for the course. So does anybody have anything that they'd like to start out with? Let me know, observations, feedback, things like that.
I,
I'm also looking at the chat here to see if there's anything you'd like to say.
are you able to hear me?
Oh, hey, Tristan, could you repeat that, please? You're a little
Hey,
silent, you're a little
yeah.
quiet.
Give me I'm going to turn off my AC. I think it's kind of loud, and then I'll ask.
Okay. Yeah, definitely an AC day. It's nice and cool here in the classroom.
Yeah.
There's plenty of work.
Uh, yeah, it's a common issue I have with work as well. I work remote. Um, so question was, I ran Java version on my machine and then I ran it on Babbage, and I see that on there it's build 21 and mine is build 26. So is that a problem? Do I
Nope,
need to?
shouldn't be. That should be fine. If something surprising does happen, let me know. I'll post about it in the Slack. And but no, I would expect that everything works with Java 26. I'm pretty sure I have an automated build that tries it with 26.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Thanks for asking about that. Good. Glad that you were able to get your Java environment working on your local machine.
Yeah.
Nice. Other things people have? Adam, any questions? Okay, no problem. Okay, then. Cool. So, let's see here. Last time we created the GitHub repository for the course. I hope everybody had a chance to do that. If you want to follow along, and actually please follow along tonight. So I hope everybody created the GitHub repository and are able to check it out on their local machines. I guess I didn't do that, so let me start with that. We'll just start here. So what I'm going to do now is yeah, get a local checkout of my GitHub repository on my machine. Let's see here, github.com/David Whitlock. Yep, Joy of Coding, summer 2026. This is the repository that I created. I hope each one of you did too. So I'm going to make a checkout on my local machine now. I'm going to copy the SSH URL and go over here to these screens. We'll just see here. I can go just use a new window. Oh, there it is. There's one here. Great. So let's see here. This and then this is on my local machine. You may recall I did something similar on I'm just going to get rid of all these windows here. On the PSU machines, we'll be going back to the PSU machines in a moment because there will be a command we need to execute over there first also, but I wanted to get myself a checkout of this repository. Um, Oh, interesting. Okay, nice. Yes, and so as you can see, it's got all of the same information as it is here. It has things like the me.xml, and I think that was really the only thing that we've added to the repository so far. So what you're going to see tonight is me doing a little bit of work on the PSU machines, but the vast majority of the work here on my local machine. Yeah. So, okay, to get started, so I wanted to do that first off. So I've got a local copy of the of my repository, and now let's look at today. Let's talk about the Java Koans. So this is the first assignment in the course. It's worth 6 points. It's due on July 8th, which is in a couple of weeks. Recall that all pro projects and quizzes are due right before class, so they're due at 6 p.m. on Wednesday. So a koan is what's called a teaching question. It's something that comes from Buddhist discourse. And what the intent is like a real koan from Buddhism. Is meant to be a deep, insightful question that you ponder. The kind of the joke is what's the sound of one hand clapping. But really, the idea here is that this is meant to be a learning tool that involves thinking and reasoning, and really, teaching a lesson. It's not necessarily be like a puzzle or something tricky. It's really about approaching a the Java koans are these little programming examples where you'll basically fill in the blank. We'll see what the code looks like in a little bit. And I found it's a really great way to help people understand the Java programming language a little bite at a time. So this first assignment is going through a series of these small exercises to learn about various aspects of the Java API or maybe certain language structures. And this will help you get started and oriented in the course. I just want to call out that this is not my work. This comes from an open source project originally authored by someone named Matt Bentley. It's good stuff. I have sort of made a fork of it, if you will, and added some things to help it better integrate into the course and really the sort of technological framework for the course. So, the first thing that we need to do is we need to create the project. This will get us started with the koans. And there's a script to do so, and it's one of those scripts that you run on the PSU machines. So I'm going to log into the PSU machine. Oh, interesting. It doesn't have that in the history. This is the PSU Linux machines. I'm going to go to my checkout, Portland, cd git, David Whitlock, Portland State, Joy of Coding, summer 2026. Yep, here's this. Okay, great. And now I'm going to run create koans. Now, what this is going to do is going to add some source code here. It's going to run a tool called Maven that will create some sort of skeletal source code for you and a empty project. It works, it runs, but it's going to contain the code for the koans that you're going to fill in. We're going to be using Maven a lot in this course. You're going to see a little bit of it tonight. We'll learn about it in detail in a couple of weeks. Maven is a build tool that is for Java projects, is optimized and designed for Java projects. And so then let's see here. I'm guessing most people have worked with something like Make or let's like maybe CMake for those kind of build tools. There's and Maven is one of really two leading build systems for Java programs. Anyway, what we'll see if we do a git status that a couple of files have been changed. One is this pom.xml. The pom.xml is a configuration file for Maven. So then just for tonight, just realize that's part of the Maven changes. And then it also added a koans directory. So this is the directory that contains all the koans files. And so if we then do a git add of pom.xml and the koans, and now if we do a git status, we'll see that there is a whole bunch of files that were added. The koans directory contains these source files. We'll look at them in more detail in a little bit. So to reiterate what we just did, we logged onto the PSU machines. We navigated to the checkout of our repository, and then we ran the create koans project to create all these files, and then we added them to Git. That was several steps. I want to pause if there's anything people would like to talk about, anything someone would like me to repeat or talk about in greater detail. All good? Okay. Again, I do encourage you to follow along in real time. What we'll be able to do is make sure that things work in your environment, and that'll save you time now because we'll be able to get our questions answered, really quickly. Okay, so I've generated the files in the koans directory. I've added them to Git, and so now I'm going to commit. I'm going to say added koans project. Great, and I'm going to push them up to GitHub. Okay. And right, that's the same cycle that we saw last time in terms of changing a file. Instead of this the me.xml, this was the source code. We added it to the Git repository, we committed it and pushed it up. And so then if we go back to our repository and we reload, oh, yep, and koans project was added. Oh, something failed. That's interesting.
Yeah, I had that same error.
Okay, what did
Are you
it?
getting like a get IO dependency error?
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, could not find
Yeah,
artifact. Oh, that's gonna be a problem.
same problem just now.
Interesting. Okay,
So
let me
I'm
see
glad
if
that
I.
you ran it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, okay. This is good. This is a problem. I wonder why that's not there. 124. Okay, let me see if I can fix that. So I am going to do a Maven W clean verify here from the top level. Okay, so we're going to be debugging a problem. So and I expect it to, yes, oh good, it does reproduce over here. Okay, so here's what's happening. So there's something wrong. Oops, I guess I didn't try this out before class. I apologize for this, but we get to work through a problem in real time. Welcome to the world of software development. So one of the things that Maven does, so in Java programs, there are lots of components that get put together. I'm sure in your introductory CS courses, you were writing very simple C programs or Python programs, and it was all your own code, right? Up through, again, like I said on Monday, you're ready to write your own linked lists. But with Java, you have lots of libraries, lots of other code that you can reuse. So, like for instance, in C++, you guys are familiar with like the standard templates, right? The template libraries. It's that same kind of thing where you get to use code that someone else wrote. So in Java, there's this whole ecosystem of third-party libraries, including ones that I write. And so then it appears that I wonder why this. Yeah, boy, this is really confusing. So then what happened here was that when I created my project, there was one dependency that doesn't exist. So I am going to try to figure out why this doesn't exist. So I'm going to kind of go a little fast here and try to get through this. Let's see here. Joy of coding, PDX, not the katas, but that's the joy of coding. Sure, we'll start here at the pull request. So what I'm trying to figure out is why that library doesn't exist. Now, I might have just forgotten to publish it. But what I want to look at here is my cheat sheet for deploying things. So if I think I could go down here in the bottom, I have a list. Yeah, here's where. So I write a bunch of code for the course, including some helper classes for the koans, and that particular version that I referenced um, doesn't seem to exist. Oops. So let's see here. Com sandwich, and it was looking for com sandwich koans lib 124 koans lib. Oh, how come it doesn't? Wait, com sandwich. Well, that's not what I expected at all. Oh, wait. GitHub. That's why. It's in Joy. Sorry. I have the wrong directory here. We want Joy. We want com, sandwich, koans lib. I've got 1.30, but I don't have. Oh, yeah, 1.24. Oh, that should be 1.30. Okay. Oh, interesting. So, what did I get wrong here? Okay, I've got one more thing to try. So I'm surprised it's 1.24. So so basically what I'm looking at here is here are all of the artifacts that I have published up on the Maven Central repository. So I published myself there, and sure enough, there is no version 1.2.4. There's a 1.30. So let's see here. Why do I think that is? Okay. Um, I'm going to make the change now that I think will fix this. And then I'm going to have to figure out what I want to do for you all. I think you all might need to change, might need to apply the same um, the same fix. But let me quick edit. I'm going to go into the koans directory, and I'm going to find where I reference that 1.2.4 version in the pom.xml. So the pom.xml again is this configuration file for Maven. Um, and let's see here. I'm going to go find, yep, here it is, depending on version 1.2.4. And this should this should depend on version 1.3.0. And does, nope, that doesn't appear anyplace else. So I'll post some directions exactly on how to do this, but let me try it. Let me try it again. I'm going to run that Maven command again. Okay, it looks like it downloaded at that time. Okay, it's looking much more successful now because it's getting through more things. Okay, excellent. Okay, so that worked successfully. So that's good. And let me just try one more thing before I commit it. So we want to run this Maven W exec Java. So Maven W is what's called the Maven wrapper script. That's the thing that launches Maven. So, sorry, back to this now. We've created the koans project. We've committed the source. And now we want to run the koans project. And so the way we do that is by running the Maven command, and you say exec:\Java. And what this will do is launch the harness anyway for the koans. We see a message like this. It talks about how to get started with the koans. This is all good. That seems to be working okay, and you hit Q to exit. Okay, things seem to be better now. Apologize for that mistake. I've modified my one file here, and we'll look at the difference just to highlight it. So if you're playing along at home, what you need to do is go into the pom.xml in the koans directory and look for this declaration of the koans lib dependency and change it from 1.24 to 1.3. So let's see here. Is anybody playing along at home? And let me know if that works or does not work for you. Oh, good. Jillian, thanks for verifying that it worked for you. Adam, are you playing along? If so, and didn't that work for you? Okay, great. Okay, great. I will commit it then. Commit. Let's see here. Adjusted. version of koan. Huh, I wonder, how did I miss that? Live. Oh, I think I know how I missed it. Excellent, Tristan. Thank you for verifying that worked for you also. So I will commit and push that change up. Okay, and now that I've verified, I'm still on the PSU machine. I verified that it works well over there. So that's good. Um, and I think that's everything I need to do on the PSU machines now. I've verified that, yep, it works, in on that environment. So now I'm going to log out of the PSU machine, and I'm back here on my local machine. I'm here at my checkout. And so now I made some changes on the PSU machine. I committed them to the local checkout and I pushed them up to GitHub. And now I want to get those same changes here on my local machine. So I'm going to do a git pull. And git pull just took all the changes that it didn't have already and integrated them into the local checkout. And so then, not surprisingly, it got all of the koans files, it got the change to pom.xml, all of that stuff. Is git pull a familiar concept to you? Um, have you guys used push and pull much with Git? Tristan, Jillian, thanks for the thumbs up there. And yeah, okay, good. Nice, thanks to Boye. Okay. So now I've got my koans directory, and I'm going to run that same command I'm going to do that maven w exec colon Java. I'm going to run that here on my local machine just to make sure that I get the same. Yep, I get this message here, and this is talking about how to get started with the koans. Nice. Okay, so folks be able to get that far?
I haven't pulled it to my local.
Okay, well, yeah, I'll give folks a couple of minutes, a few moments to pull it to your local machine and make sure that it works for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, thanks, Adam. Other folks doing okay on your local machines? Things working? Nice. Thanks for the thumbs up. Good. Okay. So, we have the source code on our local machine, and it's a bunch of files. They're Java files, and um, now I want to change them. I want to I want to go through the code. Go on. It's telling me that there is a file called about koans, and I should edit it. As I mentioned in my posts earlier today, uh, the tool that I like to use for working with Java source code is called IntelliJ. It's from a company called JetBrains. It's well, for a long time was sort of the best integrated development environment, the best IDE for Java. VS Code has really bridged the gap. It's a great tool also. If you use VS Code, feel free to use it. It ought to work just fine for you. I can't support you in it though. I don't use VS Code. I use IntelliJ instead. So then, in your preferred IDE, you'll want to work with the code. And so I'll show you how to do that now. So I'm going to launch IntelliJ. So I downloaded it from their website and installed it. It's you can see it on there's a link to it on the website. I've got a bunch of projects. I want to open up a new project though. So when you first start IntelliJ, it prompts you to open up a project. So the whole idea here is that, there's lots of code in a code base, and so then there's this notion of a project inside IntelliJ. So I'm going to open up, so I'm a little behind on patches. I'll install those later though. I'm going to open up I'm gonna look for, there you go. Oh, there we go. Gonna open up, yeah, PSU get, um, there we go. There's my directory, Joy of Coding, Winter 2026. And I want to open up the top level pom.xml. Sorry, where is it there? Oh, is it? It's recently modified. There you go. So I want to open up well, that's winter. Sorry. Let's get the right year here. Where is my summer? Sorry, what directory am I in here? Get David Whitlock, summer 2025. What am I missing here? Oh, I'm not in PSU. That's why. I am in the wrong directory. I want to move that. Okay. Sorry. Push D get PSU, PSU get. I'm really surprised I have the checkout there. That would explain it. So I'm going to move. So hopefully, you don't need to do this. You have created your repository someplace else. So I'm going to move this whole thing to here. There we go. And look, IntelliJ even saw it. So now I'm going to go Joy of Coding Summer 2026. I'm going to go to the Koans directory. I'm going to run my Maven command again. Okay. And lo and behold, here back over in IntelliJ, I now have my Summer 2026. And there's my pom.xml. Great. So I'm going to open up this top level pom.xml file. Do not open up the pom.xml file inside the koans directory. There's one of those two. You don't want that one. Things won't work the way you expect. You do want the pom.xml one though. So I'll just open that. And I want to open it as a project. So IntelliJ knows all about Maven. And so what IntelliJ does is it reads the Maven files, the pom.xml files, and from it understands about this source code, about this repository. And it recognizes things like the fact that there is a koans directory that also contains a pom.xml, also is a Maven project. And so, this is IntelliJ. Over here on the left, there's you can navigate the directory hierarchy. There's this project view. You can look at different views of it, but project's probably the project's the one that I prefer. It's got all the scripts, and so then, yep, if you want to edit them, you just double click on a file to edit it. We're not going to want to edit the scripts. Instead, we're going to work in the koans directory. So if we go back to our command line here, we'll see that there is a file called aboutkoans.java, and it's telling you something. So, okay, you need to open the file, this guy right here, aboutkoans.java, and let's do that. So let's see here. We've got here the summer 2026. We've got the koans directory. There's a source directory, oops, in that. So source beginner about koans. Here's beginner and about koans. Great. And there's the file. What does it say? Okay, there should be a method starting with @koan. There it is. Called find about koans file. And there it is. Look within it for your first lesson. Once you have solved that, save the file and check back for your next lesson. Okay, and then it's got this ponder what's going wrong in the about koan classes, find about koans file method. Line 11 may offer a clue as to how you progress. Now make haste. Sure, let's make haste. So I'm going to go back to IntelliJ, and it's collapsed this for some reason. So okay, then there you go. So line 11. So here, all the koans are annotated with this @koan annotation. So that's what it means. And then it's saying yes, the find about koans file method. Now, actually, let me take a step back. Does the syntax of Java look familiar to you? Some of you might have seen it a little bit in your in your 300 series files. A class in Java is just like a class in Python or C++, right? It defines a data type that can be instantiated. They have methods or member functions. I don't know, I think what they're called in C++. The idea here is the behavior associated with this class. And methods have a return type, and then a visibility modifier. Look familiar enough? Because I'm happy to walk through sort of the fundamental syntax in a little bit more detail if maybe this is unfamiliar to you or something that seems from the distant past. Making sense so far? Good. Thanks for the thumbs up, everybody. Appreciate the interactivity because I gotta admit I can't tell. Can't see you. Don't know who's falling asleep. Don't know who's like, come on, go faster. Okay. Well, so then the idea of these koans, it should give you an indication of what to do. So right now, according to the command line, it's saying that find about koans file is failing. What do you think we need to do to make it pass? Yeah. Delete the line. Thanks, Tristan. Yep. So if we then delete the line that is calling this fail method, we delete that there, and then, AI, I want to turn that off. Okay. Um, Now I go back here. Here's what happened there. When IntelliJ loses screen focus, it automatically saves the file. And when the file is saved, the little koans framework program here will automatically reload the file and then reevaluate it with the changes. So let's see here. Oh, wait a second. What's going on here? You need to open the file. Did this not save? I would have expected this to save. Let me try that again. Wow. I want to try something else. Ah. Okay. Huh. You know what? I broke another thing. Oh, this is not going so swimmingly. Okay. So I want to explain something, what just happened. So then let's just go back to the original. Huh. There is definitely a bug
Passed
in
the
this.
test.
Yeah, I passed the
True.
test, but the test didn't pass. And I think that's due to a change that I made that I know I had verified. So there are some bugs here that I need to work out. So what happens here is it calls fail. Right now it's calling failing, and it's saying, "Hey, listen, you got to make it pass." And so then, um, oh, I think I know. Nope, I don't understand why that happened. Um, Okay. Anyway, so what happened here is that I deleted the line and I expect it to pass, and yet it didn't. And I think that's because of the following. So as we'll see shortly, there's something called an assertion, and I made a change to the koans framework to to such that if a koan does not make an assertion, then it fails. And I thought I had exempted the find about koans file um, koan from that from needing that. So instead, to make it pass, I'm going to put in something called assert true. And so there's still an assertion, and now it passes. So sorry for those of you following along at home. If you add an assert true, do you find that the koan passes for you? Meaning that it now goes on and says, "Hey, what's wrong with definition of koan complete?" So are people finding that if you add assert true of true here, that you that the koan that the program here will advance to the definition of koan completion method?
I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Windows machine being ornery.
I hear it. Yeah, it's having a hot day also. Yeah, no, I understand. Yep, no, no, that's fine, and I'm happy to give people some time to catch up. I know that yeah, if you're just now getting IntelliJ or getting VS Code set up on your machine, uh, yep, happy to give you a couple of minutes here because yeah, I'd much rather have everybody in lockstep so that we can yeah find the next set of bugs. Meanwhile, I'm going to go try to investigate why that is failing. So there should be, oops, there should be this path to enlightenment. Yeah, this should be display incomplete colon exception false. I'm gonna try something else here. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna try the pom.xml for the koans, and instead of koans 1.3, I'm gonna say 1.2.3, and now I bet it'll work. I comment that out. And let's see here. It is failing, but now if I relaunch it after I've used an older dependency, yeah. Hmm. Well, that's weird. That's disappointing. I don't know why it doesn't work. Okay. So here's something else that I did to make it work, and you can, yeah, well, we'll figure it out. So we had changed this koans lib. So originally when it was created, it was 1.2.4, which didn't exist. Instead, it was how did that even work? Instead, I incremented it to 1.3.0. But 1.3.0 seems to have this bug that impacts the first couple of koans. So I reverted it back to the version from last term, which was 1.2.3, and that appears to behave, the old way as I expected. That's just a little experiment that I ran. I think I do want to keep it at 1.3.0 because that's what you'll have in your environment. I do need to go figure out why this isn't working, but I'll do that on my own time. And so then in order to get things to work, I need to add this assert true right there so that there is an assertion for this koan. Yep, and now it's saying definition of koan completion is the next one to move on to. Okay. How are folks doing getting their local environment to work?
I'm getting compilation errors with the assert true statement, which
Oh,
is
interesting. So
um,
yep. Um,
yeah.
well, actually, Tristan, would you mind sharing your screen? Actually, I'll make it so that people can
Yeah, I could
yeah,
try.
let me enable that here. Share settings. Oh, damn it. Where's things moved around in Zoom again? Host tools for share. There we go. Who can share? All participants can share. Okay, go for it, Tristan. You gotta be able to share your screen.
All right. Um,
Okay, and let me go. Oh, let's here. Where's the meeting? Show meeting. And you're at. Oh, you're not. Looks like you haven't sharing your screen yet. Is that right? Oh, there it is. Great.
oh, hold
I
on.
see it now. Yeah.
Oh, can you see my screen?
It's still coming in. Looks like it's blank right now.
Okay. Um,
I'll stop
I
sharing
might
now.
not be able to. It's might be a Linux thing. I is the price I pay for running it. But I mean, I could try again, but I also don't want to waste everyone's time. Um,
Okay. Well, you said compilation error. I don't know. Yeah. Can you read it out loud? That might
yeah.
give us an
Let's
idea of
see.
what it is.
Um, Cannot find symbol assert true.
Gotcha. Okay, so then so IntelliJ, and this is something that I should have highlighted. When I typed assert true, it added this import statement. So Tristan, can you look up like towards the top of your file to see if you have an
Yeah.
import statement for this com sandwich util assert dot assert true?
Oh, there's only the com sandwich assert dot fail. So maybe
Excellent.
I could
So
add. I didn't expand that part.
no, that's all right.
Um,
So yeah, if you copy the assert dot fail and just duplicate it and then just replace the fail with assert true, I wonder if that'll work for you.
assert dot assert true. Okay.
Yep.
True. Um, that worked. Nice.
Nice. Okay, excellent. Good. And so then, from the command line there, yep. Are you now seeing that it's asking you to ponder what's wrong with about koan class's definition of koan
Yeah.
completion? Great.
Mhm.
Okay. How about others? Anybody else have a an issue or a topic they want to discuss? Cool. Okay. Adam, how's it going? I heard your computer calm down a little bit.
Just trying to get my little setup.
Fair
I
enough.
have the Linux labs working, so I'll switch to that.
Okay, yeah, you can do it on the Linux lab. Yeah, if you want. Yeah, have like maybe have your text editor because you can definitely do it in the text editor, although as IntelliJ does do things like automatically insert imports for you. Yeah, let's go on then. Okay. Well, here's the second koan. Definition of koan completion. So, so let's see here. Let's look at what this koan does. It declares a variable called koan is complete, and is equal to false. And then it says if it's not complete, then fail. With this message, what if koan is complete variable was true? And actually, that failure message, I think, no, it doesn't show up here, which is a little surprising. But anyway, um, so what do we think we need to do to get this to pass? Someone's chatting. I'm not seeing it.
Just assert it true instead of having it a fail since it shouldn't be complete.
Yep, I that would work. Let's see here. Oops. And let's go. Nice. Yep. Now it is asserting true. Um, other ways that we might be able to make this pass. Let's revert that real quick. So now it's failing.
Make koan is complete true.
Yeah. And this ought to work, but it oh, did that work? Oh, interesting. I wonder why that worked. Okay. Good to know. Excellent. So we have completed our first koans class, and now it's saying something else.
You can also just delete it, all of it.
The entire method? Or
No, just everything within the method. Because what are you returning, asserting? Is the body returning go on is complete in Java?
well, there's actually no return. It's a great question. There's no return here. It's not a return statement, and it's a void method, so there's nothing being returned. It's more about and again, these are kind of degenerate cases, but it's getting you used to doing the koans and seeing that there's this fail method that causes the koan to fail.
So you could delete everything, pass an empty method.
Yeah, actually, in theory, it would. I'll just comment it out instead. Let's see what happens there. Yeah, that works. I'm not happy with this. I would not expect that to work like this.
because you're asserting some kind of return, but the body, it
Hmm.
depends on the programming language. Sometimes the body returns.
In Java, it does not. That's right. There's no implicit return in Java like it is. It does. What languages do that?
I
Does
think
Python do
Scala
that?
maybe,
Oh yeah, yeah. Scala, I think has implicit return. Yeah. Anyway, but there's no implicit return
maybe
in
that's why
Java.
it's past this speed.
No, no, yeah, yeah. So no, I think that's because there's a bug. Okay, excellent. Well, let's move on then. So I'm just gonna keep that commented back in. And actually, oh, you know what? Let's see here. Good. So I've got one done. And now that I've got it working, before I move on, I want to commit this code. So I'm a big fan. This is kind of like my style, is that when I get to like a clean point in my code, I want to sort of record that fact. And so that's when I like to do my commits. So even though, yes, not everything's done, I like to commit along the way, so that if something does get completely busted, I can easily roll back to a version that works. So if I go to the command line and if I do my git status, I'll see that what has changed is my about koans.java. And so I'm just going to for this one, I'm going to add, I'm gonna add everything in the source directory. I'm going to just look at my status, and yep, that one file has been staged. And now I'm going to commit it to my repository. Um, and I'm going to say completed first koan. And I'm going to push it up to GitHub. Nice. One of the things that I didn't point out in IntelliJ, you might have seen me working with it. When I change code in IntelliJ, it gets those green and blue lines. They just went away because it detected that the code has been committed. But as we'll see when we edit the next file, as I make changes to it, IntelliJ highlights what lines have changed since the last git commit. And this is really nice. It lets you see sort of, the changes that you've made recently and the changes that haven't been committed yet. So I'm going to start the Maven exec Java again. And now it's, oh, look at this. Oh, yeah. Okay. So there's definitely a bug in here. Okay. I'm not happy with this version of the koans. So I'm going to do the following. I'm going to ask you do this too. So I don't trust this version 1.3.0. I think it's buggy. Not 4. I'm going to go back to 1.2.3. And I think this one should be fine for this term because this is not behaving the way that I want. Okay, good now that I found it. So I rescind my earlier advice of using 1.3.0. 1.3.0 is buggy. So instead, I'm going to use 1.3.2. So I will do a git add of pom.xml. Actually, I'm just going to do the commit dash a, commit dash m, use version 1.2.3 of the koans library and the koans lib because 1.3.0 is buggy. And I'm going to commit that pom.xml and I'm going to push that up. Okay. Sorry about that. Boy, I guess I didn't test that out very well before the term. Okay. Oh, but notice I had made a change over here that just went away. It had that little blue bar in the margin. And we'll see more of that later. Okay. Once more with feeling. We've launched the program again. Cool. Okay. Now we're okay. So that first koan was really just sort of like getting started. Can you find the files? Do you know how to use the command line? The next set of koans are in the about assertions class, and things get a little bit more interesting. So here's about assertions. Okay. Now, the koans, like I was saying, there's like this fill in the blank type thing. It's like Mad Libs, but with Java code. And it explains it here. The underbar are an attempt to communicate the need to fill in an answer. Judging by context, what should the underbar be replaced with? And then ponder what's going on with the about assertion class's assert Boolean true method. Okay. So here is the assert Boolean true method, and it's saying, yeah, assert true of some value. Now, if we want this koan to pass, what should we replace the underbar with?
True.
Yeah, survey says let's do true. Oh, and notice that I just typed TR, IntelliJ prompted me for true. I'm going to hit tab to do the complete. And notice because I changed some code that has not been committed to, I've changed some code and those changes haven't been committed to Git yet, a blue bar appears in the margin to indicate that there's a change on that line. So we've set assert true too, true, reload it, great. And now it's saying assert, oh, and by the way, we ticked up from 2 koans passing to 3 out of 268. Um, Up next is assert Boolean false. Okay, let's look at assert Boolean false. IntelliJ has collapsed it. And so then what should we replace these two underbars with? You can put your answer in chat. You can come off mute. I don't have telepathy, so I don't know. Yeah, Trevor says false. Let's try false. Yeah, I think the consensus seems to be false. Great, reload it. And now I've got 4 out of the 268. Okay, let's move on. So let's see here. A keyword in Java, a keyword in Java to represent an uninitialized reference is null. There are times when something should be null, and this assertion can prove that. Okay. And so then, yeah, you've probably encountered null in your other programming languages. It means there's, no reference there. Um, and these assertions are all about, stating a fact. And we'll see more in assertions when we start talking about unit tests, which might be next time. But what do you think we should replace the 2 underbars with in this assert null statement? Yeah, Jillian says null. That's right. Null is a keyword in Java. It means no object, or a no object reference. Great. Now we're at 5. Okay, assert about assertions, assert null reference method. Okay. Here we have a variable called some object, and we want to make this a certain null pass. Right now, it is not a null value. We want it to be a null value. So what do we need to replace the 2 underbars with?
No.
Null. Yep. Looks like the concept is being driven home. And that's what these first set of koans are all about. They're kind of silly. But the whole idea here is that, through some repetition, you'll understand more concepts in the Java language. Here's the next one. We want to assert that a value is non-null, is not null. Right now we're passing null in, so what should we set in instead?
1.
1, number 1. Let's see if that works. Yeah, seems to. Let's see if it passes. Yep, we're at 7, and assert equals using expression is next. Yes. So, oops. Hi, guys. I made pictures of everybody because I want to learn who you all are.
That's a bad picture of
It's the one that we get from the university. I know, you should see my ID, especially my ID, like, I don't know, like 6 IDs ago. It was really bad. Anyway, I know, right? Yeah, this is like, it's like passport photos. And you're probably there is like taking on your first day at PSU, which might have been a long time ago. And yeah, uh, I'm always like, it's like my mugshot. Anyway, but I'm trying to make an effort to learn everybody's names and put names with faces. Uh, oh, nice. Oops. Oh, weird. So yeah, Jillian asked a question. Oh, this is a good question. I'm using IntelliJ and don't want to disrupt class, but I'm using Vim in the terminal to edit these files, and it's inserting random characters without me touching the keyboard. Are you, the terminal inside IntelliJ, Jillian? So you've like launched the terminal as part of IntelliJ? Oh, interesting. Um, yeah. What operating system are you using? Windows. And VI on Windows? So you're using like the VI to, oh, Vim. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. That probably doesn't work. So you raise a really good point though, because it's like I'm guessing, yeah, you are very familiar with Vim and you like using all the keyboard shortcuts and everything. That's awesome. I believe there is a VI mode for the editor here in IntelliJ. And so then you know how about you, maybe, use the IntelliJ editor, for tonight and kind of hobble your way through with, pointing and clicking and stuff like that. But then, yeah, I encourage you to take a note to go research the VI mode, in IntelliJ. That might provide you with a more familiar, environment. Doesn't surprise me that Vim running in the terminal inside IntelliJ, doesn't behave very well. No, 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 nothing to apologize for. I think it's a completely reasonable thing to try. And boy, between IntelliJ, Windows, and Vim, it's three tastes that probably don't go that great together. But I think you can get the experience that I think that you want, which is VI and all of its keyboard shortcuts and stuff that, is just muscle memory for you. You can get that in the primary editor for IntelliJ. Nice. Okay. So the next koan is called assert equals using expression. So we're going to use assert true here. And we have the following right here. So we have the string hello world. So in Java, strings are a first class type. So unlike in C, where they're character arrays, they're actually their own kind of object. And as you'll learn about in the Java lecture, if you hadn't learned about it previously, all objects in Java have an equals method. And so then, and that compares, the object on which the equals method is invoked to some other object. Now, the some other object is underbar underbar, which does not equal hello world. What will we do to make this koan pass?
Copy the string.
So replace the underbar underbar with the string hello world? Yeah, yeah, I like that. Yeah, equals hello world. Yes. Nice. Let's see if that passes. So we were going to insert equals using expression. And yep, now we are at 8. A couple things I want to point out about what IntelliJ is telling us. So you may have noticed that when I hover over the equals method, well, it tells me a couple of things. First of all, you may have noticed that when I went from, actually, let me just do this. So I went from this to this. There was the dot equals method was highlighted in yellow. And that's IntelliJ's way of saying, hey, there's something a little fishy here. There's something a little smelly. And when I hovered over it, it tells me why. It says equals is called on itself. And this is probably something you wouldn't want to do in normal code because the expression will always evaluate to true. If you've done something like this in your code, it's probably a mistake, or at least IntelliJ thinks that is probably a mistake, and so it's warning you about it. It's a nice thing that IntelliJ does. The other thing that I wanted to highlight is that when you mouse over a method, it displays some information about that method itself. And so then, well, you can ignore this contract and this nullable, but it basically says, hey, this is a method called equals. It returns a Boolean. It takes some other object, and here is the documentation for that method. In this class, you'll be using a lot of code from other people. Yeah, some of it's from me, but a lot of it's from just the Java, development community, the standard classes that are there with the Java runtime. And IntelliJ, not every method is necessarily obvious about what it does or what its semantics are or what its signature is. Right, the signature is the type and number of parameters it takes, and then the type it returns, and I guess the method name too. But anyway, here is a description of the equals method. And this is one of the things about IntelliJ, right? The whole idea is that it's meant to put the code in front of you to give you more information about it, as a developer, so that you can, use the code correctly. You can you can be confident that your code is doing what you think it's doing. Okay, so let's see here. This one still passes, right? Yeah, so assert equals with a few expressions. Okay. Well, here's more examples of assert equals. Let's see here. Speed round this. So assert equals hello world. What do you think the underbar should be replaced with? Yeah, hello world. Thanks, Tristan. See, I think, oops, it's still in my, yep, still in my paste buffer. Let's see here. Assert equals one. So what do you think equals one? One equals one. Two plus two is four. Three times two times three is six. Three minus eight is minus five. Right? So here's the syntax for negative numbers in Java. It's just minus five. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. And just 5. So, well, I suppose they're whole numbers. It is, integer arithmetic. But anyway, the whole idea here is that assert equals takes two parameters and it asserts that they have the same value. And this also, along the way demonstrates some simple arithmetic expressions in the Java language, using its syntax. So let's see if this makes things go from 8 passing to 9 passing, and it did. Excellent. Okay, let's look. It's giving me some advice on this next one. You can add your own message to an assert method to provide more information if it's relevant. So then ponder what's going wrong with assert equals with descriptive message method. Line 60 may offer a clue as to how you may progress. Now make case, what went wrong? The answer to life, the universe, and everything should be 42. Expected something other than underbar, underbar, but was underbar. Okay. Yeah, let's see here. When using a certain method of expectation, the expectation is on the left. So the expected value is first. So here it's like the expected value, and then this is the actual value. So the actual value of this should be what?
42.
Yeah, I think so. Thanks, Trevor. Appreciate you coming off mute. See if 42 works. It goes from 9 to 10. Excellent. Okay, this one's getting a little bit more interesting. Assert same instance actually is there. Let's see here. An object may be equal to another, but it'll never be the same as another object. Okay, it's a nice clue there. Let's look at what's happening on line 72 here. Okay, so here's the assertion is looking to see what is the same object as original. Okay, so here we have a capital I integer. So in Java, um, there are what are called primitive values, like one here, the constant one is a little I int, and corresponding to the little I int primitive type is a capital I integer, which is an is object type. So it extends from Java lang object. It has methods, things like that. You can't invoke methods on primitives like the constant one. It's just a legacy of how the language was originally developed. If you watch the lecture, you'll see there's something called boxing, which will automatically convert a primitive value to a capital I integer value to object value and back again. But let's take a look at what this code is doing. So here on line 65, we're declaring a variable called original. We're assigning it the integer value of 1. We're declaring another variable called same and assigning it the value of original. Then we're declaring another variable called different, but also assigning it the value integer of 1. So the integer, the capital I integer that represents the number 1. And then there are a couple assertion statements that pass, right? It says over here that the problem is on line 72, and that's where the two underbars are. So it's asserting that original and the same are equal, and original are different, and original and different are equal. But in terms of same, what is original the same as? So I'm guessing that the intent here is that original is the same as the same. And let's see here. Same as the same. Yep, we went from 10 to 11. But let's explore this a little bit more. So original is okay, that's failing again. But original and different are not the same. Yep, that is still failing. And that's interesting. What is it saying? It expected a value of 1, but was a value of 1, but yet they're not the same. So this highlights an important concept in Java when it comes to objects and object references. So if you go back to like your C or C++, let's say C++, it's clear that when you create this object here on line 65, this is one integer object, and then when you create the integer object again, this is a distinct object, right? They are two objects in memory. They're both allocated. They have different pointers, I guess, in C++ terms, right? So they have different locations in memory. And so then if you were to say, hey, listen, does the variable original and the variable different point to the same object in memory? Well, the answer is no, because clearly they are allocated differently. And that can be useful sometimes, but more often, and in Java, you don't. It's not so important that two variables point to the same object in memory as they do two objects that are equivalent. They're equal to each other. They have the same value, but they are not the same object. And that's what this koan is driving home. The fact that original and same end up pointing to the same to exactly the same object in memory, but they also represent the same value. They both represent the integer 1. Of course, it's the same object, so any object is going to be equal to itself. But this is the interesting one. So original and different refer to different objects in memory, but they have equal values. They both represent the number 1, the integer 1. And this is what the dot equals method is all about. So right here, yeah, right here, I guess we said these two are dot equals. Hello world. This hello world object and this hello world object are. I think they're different objects. Yeah, they're different objects, even though they represent the same string. This is an important concept that we'll see, I think, in Project 3, where you can have two objects that, if they represent the same piece of data, they are equal. And that's important to know when you do things like put them into hash tables, or if you're looking to sort objects, or have something like a unique set, you need to know if that same object, that same value is still there in that set. But bottom line is we've made changes to make the koan pass, and now we're on to assert not same instance. Before we move on, though, well, actually, maybe we should do this one, and then I'll go back and ask for if anyone wants to discuss this further. So here we've done the same thing again. We have an original statement and different, basically that same code that's up there. And again, we're asserting that original and same are equal, and original and same are different. Oh, and now we're saying, okay, great. Assert not same. Well, so now instead of same, what should we put here? What's not the same as original? Yeah, different is not the same as original. Okay. Oh, and I saw Deboye just posted something dot equal to compare values and equal to compare memory addresses. Exactly right. That's great. I talk more about this in the lecture, but the whole idea is that you've got an object and you invoke the equals method on it. You're figuring out whether or not the two objects represent the same value. They might have distinct, they're distinct in memory, but they might represent the same value. If your logic in your program wants to compare, memory addresses or object pointer, however you want to think about it, then you would use equals equals, which probably in this course you're not going to do. You're not going to use equals equals to compare objects in this course. Okay, so now that we assert that different is not the same as as original, things are passing, and oh yeah, now we're going on to the about equality. Great. Before I go on to that one, though, I wanted to pause here to see if there's anything people want to talk about, either about the koans in general, the last couple ones that we're looking at, anything else you'd like to explore further.
I had a question.
Yeah, yeah.
So all objects in Java are derived from the object class, right?
Yes.
So does that contain the equals method?
It does.
Oh,
Excellent
okay.
question. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you have any two, like just any class that you make for anything, and you call equals on it to compare it to another class, does
Yes.
it just by default go through and compare all of the members and everything, or
Oh,
um,
that's an excellent question. The answer is no.
okay.
But let's take a look at what it does do. I think this will be a nice little diversion here. So let's see here. I think this will work. I can go in IntelliJ. I can say go to code, and then, sorry, maybe it's navigate class. Okay. So, IntelliJ allows you to easily move between source files and classes and things like that. And so then I'll try to use the menus here at the beginning just to sort of orient everybody, but I'll quickly go to keyboard shortcuts because it's way faster for me. But anyway, we'll go to navigate class, and this prompts you for oops, let me move this out of the way here. Navigate class. This prompts you to then search for classes. And I just want to look for java.lang.object. And the cool thing is that it knows the source code. It has a source code for the Java runtime. It's all open source. And so now I can double click on that to open it. Oops, I selected it. Here's actually the source code for a Java Lang object. Now there's a whole bunch of stuff here, but I want to go to, oh boy, I don't know what the name of the command is. It's option F12. Oops, that's not it. It's command F12. Try this one more smart. Command F12. What is that? Navigate file structure. So if we go to navigate and we say file structure way down here. What this does is it then pops up a dialog that lets you say, hey, what are all the methods that are declared in this class? The source code can be kind of verbose. It's got documentation, stuff like that. This allows you to navigate things very quickly. So here I am looking at the object class for object, and it has an equals method right here. So I'm just going to double click to that, and then it'll take me right to it. So here is the implementation of equals that all objects inherit. And what does it do? Well, it's saying, hey, what does equals do? It compares, well, the object on which it's
Objects.
invoked with some other object. And by default, what does it do? It says, well, are these the same? So to answer your question, by default, um, you can call equals on, between any objects. But unless the receiving object actually overrides equals to do something interesting, then it's just going to say, well, am I the same? And I think this is reasonable behavior. This means that if if you have an object, let's say, you subclass, you make your own your own class, which you will in project one. By default, you'll be working on an airline. There'll be a class called airline, and you can instantiate the class to get an airline object. And if you go to compare it to another airline or really any other object, by default, unless you override the equals method to do something more interesting, it'll just say, "Hey, am I the same?" Which seems like a reasonable default implementation. It's probably described way better here in the documentation.
No, that makes sense. So
Yeah.
it's like C++ style equality outside of like the wrapper classes for like data types and stuff. Like
Yeah.
integer and like that stuff already has it built in to compare values. But
Yeah.
okay.
Let's take a look at
That's
that. No, great question. So let's sorry, navigate to class again, and let's say Java Lang integer. We saw those. And then we'll do the navigate to file structure again. We will look for equals here. So um, this is the implementation of equals for the integer class. Oops, for the integer class. And note that IntelliJ tells you that it overrides. Oops, is it not? There's no hover. Let me try that again. Well, okay, there you go. Great. It tells you that it overrides a method or overrides the method declared in Java Lang object. So here, this is the equals method for the integer class, and it compares it to some object. Now, right, you can pass in any other type of object. You can try to compare an integer to a string. You could try to compare an integer to a network socket or anything else. Um, and but it only recognizes it is only able to compare itself to other integers. So it says, hey, if object is an instance of integer, and then if so, assign it to a variable called I, then return whether or not the value of this integer, so this is actually a field here, it's the int value for the capital I integer. If it is equal to, so you compare the two numbers, equal to the int returned for the other integer. So basically, two instances of Java lang integer will be equal to each other if they have the same underlying int value.
Cool.
Yep. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what we're asserting, like right here, right? And this assert equals, actually probably this one right here. This assert equals says, yep, original and different have the same value. Their values are equal, even though they are different objects.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, thanks for asking. Great
Yep.
questions. Yeah. Anything else people would like to explore with regards to the what we've seen so far in the koans? Are folks who are playing along able to get as far as we did? Anybody encountering any problems with IntelliJ, with the koans, anything like that?
I just want to confirm, well, the two modifications you made were just to the Maven root or just to the Maven
Excellent. Yeah,
file?
question about what did I change? Yeah, so let's go through there again. Now there ought to be what Adam asked is that yeah, what were those changes to the pom.xml? When I ran the create koan script on the PSU Linux machine, it did make a change to the top level POM. So the one that's in the Joy of Coding summer 2026 repository, so not the one in the koans directory, the one in the top one. And what it added was this module koans. As a matter of fact, I'm going to annotate this. It shows all the changes. This is the line that I changed today. I added this module koans. And actually, that was done automatically when you ran the script. So this one you don't need to manually change. What you do need to manually change is this line here. It's like it's line 53. And I'll just put it right there. And we hover over, it'll tell you here's the commit message. Yep, you want to use version 1.2.3 of the koans lib because 1.3.0 is buggy. And actually, everybody will have to change that from 1.2.4, which is what you get by default, which is a bug on my part, to this 1.2.3 so that it'll work okay.
Which folder is the directory?
That is in the koans directory. Yep, excellent. Thanks for pointing that out. Oh yeah, and I guess you can also tell it down here in IntelliJ. It gives you little breadcrumbs of where the file is that you're looking at. Excellent. Okay. Once again, I've reached the end of a koan. Nice going, everybody. And because there's blue here in the margin, there's a bunch of changes that need to be committed. Now, I could go to my command line. I could do my git status. I could do the git commit from here. Um, Git from the command line is fine. It'll work. I find it to be a little bit slow though, especially compared to doing it through IntelliJ. So one of the things I want to show you here is how to work with Git and GitHub through IntelliJ. So if you navigate over here to the left, there's the project view. You can also change to the commit view. And this shows you all of the files that have changed since the last Git commit. We have made changes to the about assertions file. That's all over here. And actually, if you double click on this, you'll get a diff view if you want to review the diff. You probably don't in this case, but you can. And now I can perform the commit from here. I can select the file and I can add my commit message. I can say, got the about assertions. Oh, look to prompt me for the name of the file. Great. About assertions, koan to pass. And I can just commit it, or I can commit it and push it up to GitHub. And I'm going to commit and push up to GitHub. And it's saying that, oh, there were some commit checks failed because there are probably some yellow warnings in this file. That's fine. I want to say commit anyway and push. So it committed it to the local repository. And as a matter of fact, now If I do a git status, nothing's changed, but they haven't been pushed yet. And so then it gives me this dialog that pushes commits up there, and it tells me all of the commits that need to be pushed and what files were modified. That's super cool. This is what I want to push up, and so now I push. And as you can see down here, little bubbles pop up telling me what's going on. Um, I like using IntelliJ to deal with the Git stuff. Um, it's fat. I find it faster. It's all in one environment, and it gets it right. There are some things about Git that are kind of um, uh, very particular, and I've been known to mess up before, and I find that IntelliJ just makes it simpler. But you are free to do whatever you like. Nice. Okay. Well, let's call for questions about or just topics about what we've been doing so far. Okay. 7:20. It's time for a break. Let's take 10 minutes, stretch our legs, and yeah, get off your screens for a little bit. And I'll see you back at 7:30. Cool. Well, hey, welcome back, everybody. So here in the first part of class, we've broken ground on the Java koans, which is the first assignment in the course. This is as you're seeing, a series of little Java methods with these like fill in the blanks that then begin to teach you about various aspects of the Java programming language. We were just focusing on a bunch of koans that were all about exploring equals and how the difference between two objects being equal and two objects being the same. That led into a neat exploration of how it's implemented. We looked at the source code for Java Lang object and Java Lang integer, which you can all do inside IntelliJ, navigate around your code base very effectively. And so what I'd like to do is let's keep going. Here with the koans. Oh, let's just run Maven again. Great. Now it's let's see here. Oops. Okay, now we're at the about equality. That'll probably be more, let's see here, go back to the project and go back to about equality. I'm guessing this is probably more of the same. Oh, okay, look at this. Yep. So more things about equals. So this is good. This will help reinforce some of the things that we just learned in the previous koan. So here we have an assert equals statement between assert that the value of this expression right here, object equals same object, knowing that equals returns a Boolean, what should the two under bars be here?
Can you put a one like C or C plus plus?
Oh, good question. Okay, yeah. So can you put a one? Let's try it and find out, right? Not going to hurt anything. And luckily we can easily undo and we know exactly what changed. Let's see what happens when we put a one in here. Nope. Let's see here. Line 14. So it's still this double equals tests if two objects are the same. Um, and it says line 14 may offer a clue. Expected true, but was one. So yeah, I think Jillian had it here in chat. Jillian said true. But
Not written, represented by a bit.
oh, sorry, say that again.
Not represented by a bit.
Oh, yeah, in the JVM itself. Well, at the very lowest level, I'm sure it is. The compiled, JIT is probably, well, a bit or a byte or whatever lines well with the cache and everything like that, right? But conceptually, I think you raise a really important point, which is that in Java, a Boolean type is different from an integer type, from an int type. And so then, yes, you can't say, you can't compare, you can't say something like, if one equals true. That does not compile, right? Because it says you can't apply the equals operator to an int on one side and a Boolean on the other side. Yep. And I'm really glad you're asking these questions because you can explore it here in the code. And this is what the koans are all about, is about asking those kinds of questions where it's like, okay, I'm seeing this in the language and what does it really mean? Nice. And so here, yep, those are true. Now, is object equal to a new object, right? You're creating a new object here. You're creating a new object here. You're comparing those two. Are they equal to each other? True or false?
Well, you said Java makes structural comparisons only.
And so then what would you conclude?
Should equal yourself.
Okay, so you're saying that it should be the same. That equals that object equals new object. Looks like Tristan says otherwise. Uh, let's try it Tristan's way. So let's say those are not equals to each other. Okay, that appeared to work because it went on to the next one. But let's explore that. Like, why is that? Because remember, what equals compares is that are they the same object? Does the object variable point to refer to the same object as this new object you created right here? Well, it does not, right? This creates a new object here on line 15, and then object was initialized to this other object that was created up here on line 12. So you have two objects that are allocated there on the JVM's heap, and they are not the same. The pointers, if you will, you want to think about pointers, they point to different objects. It's okay. So when you have the expression object equals new object, that evaluates defaults. Oh, here's another good example. Okay, now we're gonna have assert equals and of the expression object equals object. So what do we think here? If you have an object and is it dot equals to itself?
True.
Yeah, I think it's true. Yes. And as a matter of fact, we, if you all remember what we looked at when we looked at the implementation of the equals method. Oh, that's not going to advance yet. We saw, and actually we can drill into it here. Sorry, I have the command. If I right click on equals and I say if I go to declaration or usages, it'll take me to the source code. And again, right, the implementation of this equals method is just using the equals operator. And so therefore, because these objects, the object references equals to itself, yep, it's true. And what about this one? Does this object dot equals the other object? We know they're not equals, but are they dot equals to each other? Yeah, Tristan is saying no. Let's go with that. Find out. Does it go from 13 to 14? It did. Yes. And so here again, by default, the equals method on the on Java Lang object. So if we go to the declaration, we'll see the implementation of it is just using equals. So just like in the one above, we see that one object is not equals to another. So when you invoke the dot equals method on a Java Lang object, it's the same as equals. And these are the little lessons that the koans are meant to reinforce. Listen, I totally get it that if for some koans you're just like, I just want to get to work and move on. That's cool. But the intent here is that by exploring the koans and really digging a little bit deeper to understand why the koans are the way they are, it'll help reinforce, teach you about the Java programming languages and reinforce, some of these concepts. Reinforce all the concepts. Okay, let's look some more things about dot equals. Now, okay, we have an object of type object that is assigned to a Java Lang integer. And now these are different types. How is this assignment valid? How is it that we can assign a new integer to a variable of type object?
You treat an integer as a pointer, a boxed item.
Yes, yeah, it is as a box. I think you're getting there. Say more.
It's just an object. Object is just a pointer to an object.
Yep.
An integer is treated as an object / box in Java, so you just assign pointers.
Okay. Yeah. And so you're saying, well, it's just a pointer. I think more importantly, it has to do with the type of object. So object is of type object. And because Java Lang integer, is an object. So every class in Java extends from Java lang object. So you can assign any instance to a variable of type object because everything is an object, right? And so this is starting to reinforce the whole notion of class inheritance in Java.
How far does that go? Because that's like Python where everything's a pointer.
Yes, every object type in Java descends from Java lang object. So Java lang object is the root of all classes in Java. Yeah, great question. Okay, so knowing that, let's see what you think here. So a cert equals. So is object dot equals to object? It was up here. Do you think it'd be different down here? I'm going to say they're the same. Oops. So, right, even though the object is an integer, that integer object is still equal to itself. Now, is the object equal to a new instance of Java lang integer with the value of 1?
Yes, 'cause the same value.
Yeah, I think that would stand to reason, right? You'd want it to work that way. Let's start out with that and see if it actually does work that way, right? So if if two integers represent the same value, they're both the value 1, you think they would be equal. I think that comment here kind of hints at that too. But let's see if it actually works out that way. We go from 14 to 15. Yes, that's correct.
I'm kind of curious to
Yep.
discuss that more. So
Yeah.
the first item, so if it's not basically an empty object, it's going to do a member-wise comparison data.
It's going to do whatever the equals method is implemented to do. So it's a couple people have talked about, yeah, oh, it does a member-wise comparison. Is that the way it works in C++? Because like that's not the way it works in Java. I
It works
don't.
differently in all different.
Okay, so yeah, right. So the way it works in Java is that when you have like we were looking at before, we look at the equals method of Java lang object, and by default, it just says, are they the same? And then it's the job of the various subclasses to override equals. Actually, what happens if I click this?
So then you're
Yeah, never
using
mind.
the equal operator within the implementation.
Yes. Yeah, use the, well, it equals method. That's a method, it's not an operator. Oh, sorry. What were you saying before?
When you say return value equals.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry. That was you meant in the object class. I'd already moved on. So this right here is the equals operator. Yep. Yes. So by default, the equals method is implemented to just say, hey, are they the same? And then subclasses of object like Java lang integer can override equals to provide different behavior. And here, this is where they do the value comparison. But it's up to the class itself to override equals to provide a natural or a sensible implementation, customization of the equals method, which is appropriate for that type of object.
Can you also override the equals operator like you can in C++?
Excellent question. No, there is no overload. There is no user-defined. The coder does not have the ability to override operators in Java. At the time, and I think it's still the case, that's seen as a little too complex, a little too confusing. I tend to agree. It's like I want my minus operator to just do whatever it's, what I'm used to. There's something in my mind that's different about overriding methods versus overriding operators, but that's the decision that was made. So yeah, so I would say that. But nice. So this is, reinforcing this lesson that different objects have different equals methods. And there's something else here that I want to point out also. The choice of equals method is not dependent on the compile time type of the object. It's dependent on the runtime type of the object. So when this equals method is invoked, actually either of these equals methods is invoked, what is actually executed is the equals method on the runtime type of the object, which is integer, not the compile time type, which is object. This is just the way object-oriented programming works. It's a dynamic dispatch, it's the virtual method, right? All that kind of stuff that you probably learned about when you first learned about objects. And the same is true in Java, right? So this is the runtime type. It's the runtime type of the object that receives the method call that ultimately determines what code is being invoked. I know we're kind of going kind of deep here, but this is how we learn about Java. Okay, got a couple more here. Equals method can be changed by subclasses to test if two objects are equal. Example. Okay. Oh, here we go. So now we're sort of doing something similar. We have two objects. They're both Java-lang ints, and we are saying whether or not they are equal to each other. So do we think value 1 and value 2 are equal to each other?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. Right? They both end up ultimately represent the integer 4. And so then, okay, the value of value 1 is equal to what? What would you put here to make this assertion pass? Oh, value 2? Yeah, I like that, Julian. Thanks. Yeah, let's see if that works. Goes from 15 to 16. You could also say something like, new integer 4. That would be wrong. Thank you, AI. I want to figure out how to turn that off if I had. That would also work. We're still at 16, as would just the number 4. All right, all of those, yep, all that still passes. But yeah, I think value 2 is fine also. Here's another one. Objects never equal null. So I want to assert that the value of new object dot equals null is what? Yeah, false. That seems about right. Do we go from 16 to 17? Yep, exactly. So the whole idea is that when you compare an object to null, it's always false. Now, I'm curious. What do you think? No, I guess it's kind of. Oh, interesting. That doesn't even compile. Okay, darn. Here, let's try this. What do you think happens here on line 47? What do you think the result of that is? Oh, looks like maybe Tristan said false again. That might have been for the first one. Yeah, I think that's false also. Let's give it a try. Apply some science to it. Oh, look at all that. So we get this invocation target exception, which was caused by a null pointer exception. So let's think about what this code does. This code invokes the equals method on a null object. Now, there's no object there, right? And so you can't, in Java, you can't invoke an object, or you can't invoke a method on an object that doesn't exist. And so what you get is something called a null pointer exception. You'll learn about exceptions later through the koans and through the lectures and other things like that. But I just wanted to point out that invoking a method, attempting to evoke a method on a null object throws this null pointer exception. Let's get rid of that code. Nothing should pass again. So let's go back down here to the bottom. Great. Now objects equal themselves. Okay. Oh yeah, we've kind of seen something like this already. Does an object equal, so a Java-lang object, does it equal itself? Yeah, we saw that it does. Okay. Got the about equality. So that's what these koans are all about. Again, reinforcing just what the equals method does in Java, how it's different from the equals, yeah, and how it can be overridden in subclasses. Let's commit this guy. Oh, look at this. I can just reuse this statement about equality, koan to pass. Yeah, oops, we want to select this, commit and push. I'll probably warn about things. Yeah. Push. Okay, now we are on to about strings. About strings. Oh, interesting. Okay. So let's see here. Implicit strings method. Oh my gosh, look at this. So this is one interesting thing about the koans. It introduces this thing called a get class. Um, okay. So this right here is a string constant. Now, a string constant ends up being represented as an instance of Java lang string, right? String is a built-in class to the Java runtime, to the Java programming language. And every object in Java has something called a meta class associated with it. It is an object that describes its class. This is a pretty advanced concept, so I'm just going to give you the answer first, and then we'll talk briefly about what it is. So the idea, so this is okay. So I just want to play with this a little bit here. I'm going to call this string, and it's going to have this value. And I'm going to replace this right here with string, right? Hope you see that that's functionally equivalent, same thing. But this is of type Java lang string. And so the class for this is capital S string dot class. Now, okay, this is a super advanced concept, and actually, okay, it probably shouldn't, it's not something you should probably see in your second day of class, but whatever. Um, and so then, the idea here is that every object knows how to get this other object that describes its class. And what this Java Line class is all about, here I'm going to navigate to the, sorry, jeez, come on, go to declaration of usage. It's this kind of wacky thing that returns something called a Java line class. And if we go to this declaration, meh, and then we go and look at um, here we go, the file structure. It's got a lot of things, but I think what's most interesting is it has the ability to get the fields of the class. You can get information about the methods of the class, all sorts of good stuff. I'm going to stop there though, because you're not going to use this in the course. It's neat. It's good to know. It's something that, yep, Java programmers, work with every once in a while. It's a fun feature. Years ago, I used to have a lecture about it. We would, nerd out on it. We'll see this kind of thing again, this reflection API, when we talk about unit testing. Again, when we talk about, maybe when we talk about the web stuff. Don't worry, there's lots of other things to, fill your head with in the meantime. I guess for right now, just know that if you've got a variable of type string, or you've got an object of type string, when you ask for its class, you get something called string.class. That goes from 18 to 19. Cool. Now let's look at some other interesting things about string. So there's a string constructor, okay, right? So a constructor is what is invoked when you instantiate a class. You instantiate a class with the new keyword in Java. So here we're creating a new string. We saw something similar for creating a new integer. Now you can create a new string with no arguments, and this creates an empty string. So if we were to then assert the value of this string variable equals the empty string, what do you think it's going to be? True or false? Yeah, true. I'd expect it to be true also. Because these two strings are equal to each other, right? So when you create a string object with no arguments, and actually kind of says it, up here, you end up getting an empty string. That kind of makes sense. But as the comment points out, it's kind of a rare thing to do. An empty string isn't terribly interesting. If you're going to write it in code, just do that. A string also has a constructor that takes another string. What does that do? It creates another instance of string with the same underlying characters in it. So here, string instance does equal string reference. Again, it's true because, yep, they ultimately at the end of the day represent the same characters. Goes from 20 to 21. Okay. Now note that just because you've got two strings that represent the same characters, again, you're creating a new string instance from this other string instance. They are not equals equals to each other. They are not the same object. 21 to 22. So, and this is just a lesson from the previous koan, right? Again, just because two strings represent the same set of characters, same string of characters, they aren't necessarily this, they are not the same object. Now, there's a method on string called isEmpty. And so then, okay, if you've got quote, quote, which represents the empty string, is that string is quote, quote, empty? Yes, it is. Is the string one empty?
No.
Let's see here. We saw some of the stuff before. Is a new string empty?
Yes.
Yes. Is a new string object from the empty string empty?
Yes.
Yes. And then, okay, here again, just sort of learning these constructors. This one's going to be false because what was passed in here and ultimately what the string represents is a non-empty string. But here again, these koans are meant to teach you about the isEmpty method and reinforce what is and is not an empty string. There's also a dot length method of a string. So what's the length of the empty string? Yeah, 0. Nice going. Yep. The length of the string 1? Gonna be 3 characters. Oh, even prompted me for it. And let's see here. The string of the number 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yep, 17. I think that's all right. Yeah. Okay, string has another method called trim. What do you think trim does? Any guesses or any ways to find out?
Removes leading and trailing spaces.
Yeah, that'd be my guess too. As a matter of fact, yeah, no, I know what it is. And another way to find out would be to hover over. Oh, interesting. It's not. Let me put the cursor there and hover over great. And now it's telling this. It says great. Returns a string whose value is this string with all leading and trailing space removed. And then it tells you in crazy detail uh, yeah, what counts as a space. Okay, cool. Yep, great. So knowing that, if you take an empty string and trim it, what are you going to get? An empty string? Oops, you're going to get an empty string. Oh, this one's already filled in, I guess. Trimming 1 is 1. One more time with a leading space is going to be, oops, it's going to be just a string one more time. One more time with a bunch of, yep, leading and trailing space. When you trim it, it's just going to be the string one more time. Oh, and again, with a backslash T. Y'all know what a backslash T is? Same thing as in C and C++. I don't know, is this something that you all cover, the backslash?
Tab.
Yep, tab character. Okay, good. Excellent. So
What's backslash?
backslash 0, it's character 0, the same thing that it is in, yeah, see, that's a good point. And I assume that you're thinking it's like, oh, backslash 0, it's a null terminated array of characters. That's what a string is in C. Is that what made it pop into your mind?
just a lot of special characters.
There are a lot of special characters. Yeah.
Really funky behavior in Java to look out for.
Oh, there's not. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. So like, coming from the C or the C++ world, yeah, we all had to, know that, okay, a string, or really it's a character array whose last element is, or rather what was it, zero terminated character array. That's what constitutes a string in C and in old-timey C++. Java doesn't have that. So, there is no a character array is different from a string in Java. A string is a string. String is Java lang string. A character array, as you'll see in later koans, is an array of characters. They are two different things in Java, and this is on purpose. So that, yeah, you don't have the same kind of, I won't say shenanigans, but I'll say conventions in Java. You don't have to worry about going off the end of an array. You don't need to worry about the fact that you forgot to zero terminate your character array to be a string like you do in C. Java makes it easier. Yep, and similarly, what about now is the string here. Oops. Okay, let's do that. Yep. How many more of these do we have to go? We've got a lot of them left to go. But anyway, as you can see, it talks about string concatenation. There's methods like two uppercase, two lowercase. And the goal here again is to familiarize yourself with coding in Java. So a little bit at a time. And so what I hope that this gives you is just a gentle, although necessarily quick. There are a lot of these, right? There are 268 of these to do, but it gives you an introduction to the Java programming language in small, digestible parts. I'm going to commit this, and then we're going to go back and talk more about the assignment itself. But is there anything else you'd like to know before I do that? Anything about what you've seen so far tonight that I can tell you about the koans, about working with IntelliJ, stuff about the command line, anything? I do want to call out that let's go back here to, come on, babies. Can I just, sorry, how do I get out of like all this? There we go. Just go back to the top of the repository. Notice that I pushed all of this to my public repository, my public GitHub repository. Feel free to look at any of the code that I push up here. Hey, if you're doing one of those codes that we did together, and I was like, oh, I don't understand, or hey, what did Dave do? Yep, you can, feel free to look at that. I make this public for a reason, and so that you can look at it if you want. Yours, of course, will be in a private repository, but it's all out there in the Joy of Coding Summer 2026 under my user. Okay. So let's go back to the assignment. Let's see here. We've done all of this. Oh, I'm not going to talk about the submit script now. I'll talk about it, I don't know, next week, sometime. But from the PSU machines, you'll run the submit script with koans to submit it. Let's see here. Oh yeah. Okay. So then with the koans and actually all of your assignments, make sure that they run well on the CS department's machines before submitting. So we basically run the Maven exec Java on the PSU machines. I'll grade them on the PSU machines. It hasn't happened recently, but there was a time where there were a couple of koans that were sensitive to like what locale they're running. I took those out because it wasn't worth the juice. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze, as they say these days. And so then it should all be the same, but please verify that before submitting. A warning about this, and I think I'll show it to you now. The way that the koan's driver here works is that it puts was in the app data source directory. There's this directory called app data source, and it has copies of all of the Java files. And there have been times where students have inadvertently edited these copies of the koans file. Yeah, it looks like this one actually, yeah, it hasn't even been modified. So actually, I don't even know why it's there. And if you're not careful, you might run across them in IntelliJ also. So I guess just, oops, I guess let's be a little careful that you're not opening up, things in this app directory. As you'll notice that like it's grayed out because it's ignored in GitHub, in Git. So yeah, there are a copy of the files here. Just be extra careful that you're only editing the ones in source, and not the ones in app. Because actually, if you try to make a change here, so let's just go to beginner and say about koans. Right, they look a little different. They've got like .java file, .java. They are Java files instead of Java classes because they said the .java, they're displayed that way. They don't have like the little C, they have the little cup. It's even telling you, hey, you are editing a file that's ignored. So IntelliJ, tries to warn you, but I've had students that have like changed this and they're like, nothing's happening, nothing's working. It's like, well, you're editing the wrong file. And yes, I realize it's a little confusing. It's the way that the koans work. I suppose I could fix that, but I could explain it to you also. So, bottom line, this is the first assignment in the class. It is due on July 8th, and it's worth 6 out of the 100 points in your of your grade. Anything else I can tell you about the koans? I had one more topic for tonight after that. Yep. Question from Jillian. Are these the beginner and intermediate ones to complete? Is that right? Actually, it's all of the ones that are there. So it's all of you'll be going all the way through advanced and the Java 7, the Java 8. Yep. And so then, the expectation is that you'll get all 268 of them to pass. And what students have told me is that yeah, that's a bit of work. And so then you just gotta plug away at it. I think most people have said, oh yeah, they sort of find a groove. They they get into it. They they understand what is yeah, sort of they like once you get like into the string ones, yep, it becomes pretty fast. It's a pretty fast back and forth. But there are a lot of them. So pace yourself, and I recommend that you start them really as soon as possible. By Monday, make sure that you've gotten a handful of them done. Hey, you can do the math to figure out what pace you need to go to get all 268 by July 8th. Of course, count for weekends and the holiday and everything like that. But yeah, do get started on them soon to make sure that yep, your environment works and everything, and that you are able to make progress on them. Cool. Okay. So I use I use AI assistants at work, and the reality is it's a very legitimate way to write code. And I'm trying to figure out how to integrate into the course. So I'm going to experiment with that a little bit this term. And one of the things that I'm curious about exploring, with you and sort of on my own, is an AI coding assistant's ability to teach us things. And so just for sort of, a final exploration here in the last 10 minutes of class, um, I want to launch Copilot. So I like not I like the one I'm using here is Copilot. So this is generative AI. It's Microsoft Copilot. And I'm going to ask some things about the koans. I just want to see what it says. So I've been working on these Java koans. I completed a couple. Um, and I'd like a summary of of the key takeaways, well, the key learnings in the koans. In particular, um, please summarize. I always say please, just because this the way I
You do get better.
do you? I don't know. And I've had coworkers like, this is another token to use. You don't need to be polite. It's like, I don't know. I just I have trouble articulating things. I always worry about like being less human if I use machine, language to machines. And please summarize summarize the key takeaways from I don't know, what do we do? About assertions. Let's do about equality and about strings. About equality and about strings. Koans. I'm curious. I've never done this before. I'm curious to see what it's going to tell me. So basically, it's like, hey, AI, help me, summarize things. What are the big takeaways? I'm just curious what it's going to say. So it's going out and it's looking for them. I'm really, it's like, is it going to be, is it going to focus on only the things that matter? Okay, good. It's right. Sorry, what?
Spend $1 now.
That's right. Yeah. And so Europe's got a little bit hotter. Thank you very much. Okay, key learning. These koans are teaching the difference between identity versus value and how Java strings behave as immutable objects with a rich standard API. Okay, good to know. That gives me a little bit more about equality. There are two about equality koans to repo together. They build the core idea. Equals checks for two reference points, same object. Equals checks for whether two objects should be considered equal in value. For plain objects to follow equal. This is so I don't know. I'm reading this as like, oh, good. This is the kinds of things that we discussed. And it's telling me, okay, great, default equals behaves like identity, but class is like integer override for value equality. If no object should be equal to null, and error object should be equal to itself. Here again, I read this like, great, this is good reinforcement. And I encourage you to use AI for this. There's so much emphasis on AI. So writing code, writing code. Yes, it can do that. It's great, but it's also good at summarizing code. It's also good at communicating back to us as humans and helping us communicate better with each other. So, I encourage you to leverage AI as like as a tutor. Maybe that's the way I'll look at it. So that when you have questions, it's okay to ask the AI. When you've done a bunch of things and want to check your understanding, check your learning, go ahead and use AI. It's all right, and I'm curious to and looking at this, I'm confident that it'll lead you down the right path and help reinforce the learning. Um, for me, I think that's one of the underrated powers of generated AI. Yeah, and here we go. Some more things about koans. So anyway, cool. Okay, that's good to know. That's all I can say. That's all I wanted from now. But I think that might be a nice sort of way to end a session working with koans. So, hey, maybe you spend, 45 minutes, or maybe you've done a couple of koans. It's like, hey, summarize it, help me take in what I learned, and reinforce, maybe is the right word for it, the things that I've learned. Cool. Okay. Yeah, thanks. I just want to play with that. We'll see. I want to use Copilot, or I want to use, an AI assistant in a couple of ways. Another idea that I have is I need to figure out when exactly it'll fit into the course schedule. But at some point, we'll talk about. Actually, that's a nice transition. So, starting next time, let's just take a look at next week. Next week we're going to talk about test room development. And we assign our first phase of the project next Wednesday. And like I said, if you want to use an AI coding assistant for the projects, that's awesome. Please let me know. I'm really curious about your experiences. And I think one thing that I want to do later on in the term, after you've had an opportunity to implement a couple of projects, I want to I'll look for time where here in class we can use AI to start from scratch to see how it does. And then compare it against the code that you wrote to see where it was different, and then figure out if it has a better solution. There's a difference that makes a difference between the solutions. It's a teaching tool. It's something that we can use to better understand our own code and learn how to code better on our own in the future.
Really curious now because the expectation for senior engineers is like they're a program manager. And they're doing
Ah.
agent dispatch.
Mhm.
I think they can do like 7 to 10 agent dispatches. Be curious what that workflow looks like.
Yeah, I mean, so in case you couldn't hear, what Adam was talking about is what we're seeing, at the moment, right now in the world of development is that senior engineers, and probably it's really any engineer, becomes more of a, yeah, you can use the word orchestrator, project manager. Actually, it's a manager of agents. One of the things that we talk a lot about at work is the fact that uh, agents are now making it so that it's management skills that people need, the ability to describe problems, the desired solutions, coordinate the work, correct things when they aren't done in the way that you plan or that you expect. These are management competencies. Again, sort of like part of like the why I think software professionalism is so important is that we that you now it's not like, oh, you work as an individual contributor for 5 or 10 years before you need to think about management. Well, now you're managing agents, and while they're not as the same, it's not the same as managing a person. Well, or is it? There's still a lot of capabilities you need there. So yes, agent orchestration, the fact that there what so many senior and soon to be not so senior developers find themselves doing is sort of like shuffling off work and then having to coordinate it all and take it all in. Yeah. That's something there. I don't, and as far as like using that in a classroom, I guess one of the things I'm thinking about is, if we were to, if I was to teach a course in leveraging AI agents, what would be the project that you work on? For me, I can talk about the content. I can imagine like what I could lecture people on, but that's the one-way communication. The thing that I always find necessary in a course is that you also need to have the assessment of the understanding. And so then what would I have to design from an assessment standpoint from like, oh, here's the projects that you do, here's the homework that you do, here are the quizzes, right? What does that need to look like? So was that
System part.
okay? And so like what kind of, oh, like write an operating system, write a big website, write a game? Well, right, yeah. And so then and actually, yeah, I mean, we only got 2 minutes left in class, so I'm happy to talk about it some other time. It's like, what is that project? What is that assignment that would be compelling enough that people would be like, oh, that's something cool, but also then that would provide a good feedback mechanism so that you as a student can feel confident that yes, you have understood and mastered the principles and skills that are part of the course. But yeah. So yes, I mean a course in which what you're getting experience with is orchestrating the work of 7 agents. Um I can imagine how that would work, except for the fact that I don't know what project to build yet. What?
Be chaos.
But what a great experience, right? Yeah, it might be chaotic, but I think it would also, and actually, I think that would be a big part of it too, is that that there would be an assessment of the reflection of your experiences. What would it be like as a student who is experiencing all that agent orchestration for the first time? Nice. Things to daydream about. Okay. Anything else that you'd like to discuss tonight? Any other topics on your mind? Okay, well, hey, thanks for joining everybody tonight. This tonight was a bit of an experiment. I don't think I've ever, had class sitting down before. It was okay. Let me know what you think. Feel free to, start a conversation on Slack if you want to, direct message me. That's fine too. But I also wouldn't mind engaging in a conversation in the Joy of Coding channel, just in terms of how you thought tonight went. What worked for you, what was effective, what wasn't effective. Thanks for coming here in the classroom, Adam. It's good to have someone here in person. I do encourage everybody to stop by the classroom, even if you don't have to. I think there's a lot to be said for having an in-person experience. But just to be clear, it is optional, except for the 3 times when it's not. Let me know how things go with the koans. Have a great rest of your week and rest of your and enjoy your weekend. I will see you on Monday. Bye, everyone.